about to meet a woman who, her name is Rosie. She dropped 110 pounds. She was 300 pounds, yes. Went to 193. She has an incredible story. Let's get that
Rosie,
before
come.
picture up there. All right, Rosie's about to come out the door. All right, Rosie, come join the Joy Fit Club.
Rosie, you look fantastic. How do you feel?
I feel awesome, great, stupendous.
You lost 107 pounds, is that right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Rose, how did you find Carnivore?
I found Carnivore in January of 2020 after a lot of trial and error. Do you mind if I give you some backstory on how I arrived there? So at 3.5, I was abused from 3.5 to 17 by my biological father. And my disordered eating or eating disorder started when I was 3.5. So from 3.5 all the way up to 17, the way I viewed the world, relationships, activities, was always through food. I vividly remember eating like dry dog food, petroleum jelly, raw ground beef, just whatever. And by the time I was in middle school, 12 years old, I had started dieting. I was using Dexatrim, X-Lax, drinking Tab. I'm 56, so that gives my age right there, 56, drinking Tab and whatnot. And it was just a tumultuous start to life. And by the time I was 18 and a half, Dave, I was married. And shortly before my 20th birthday, I had my daughter. So I never sought help for what had happened in childhood. And I carried that with me into adulthood. So food was always my best friend. It was my savior. I ate a lot of sugar, fast food. I never ate regular meals. And right after I had my daughter, I went back to dieting. I went back to X-Lax. I went back to Dexatrim. And it had started me on this cycle, a never-ending cycle of yo-yo dieting. And my weight had stabilized as a teenager at about 180. And I'm 6 feet tall. So that's my baseline of weight. But after delivering my daughter, I ballooned up to 300 pounds. And it could have been more than that, but my scale kind of like stopped there. And after she was born, I severed ties with a lot of my biological family because I knew enough at 20 that what happened to me, I didn't want her exposed to. So that created a lot more depression for me. And I didn't have the coping skills other than food. And I ventured to seek help with a therapist who was Black, a local Black therapist. And the ironic thing is I thought that by seeking help, I would be weak and whatnot, very weak. And it was always what happened in our home stays in our home, yada, yada, yada. And when I did try to talk about what was going on to my aunts or counselors, I was the black sheep of the family, basically. So even during this time when I sought help, it was like a 6-week group deal. I would bring food. I would show up late. I was just literally addicted to Snickers bars. And although I didn't think my story mattered, I did show up. And the counselor never said, show up without your food. If she did, maybe that would have helped me a little bit more. So fast forward, the yo-yo dieting, the compulsive overeating, the binging, just nonstop. And in 2002, I decided to kind of get brave, get a little education surrounding this. And I took 1.5 years off from the scale because I was scale obsessed, exercising obsessed, everything obsessed. And I would just write down everything that I was consuming. And I eventually, after 18 months, lost like 110 pounds. But that started another cycle of obsessively exercising, obsessively counting calories. And it just didn't stop. And I was even on the Today Show, I think in 2008 and in 2012. And on the Joy Bauer part of the show. And what they completely missed and what I didn't know was, although I was eating a Snickers bar every day, they were doing the calories in, calories out, because I thought that was the way to go, right? And from there, I still continued on like with Dexatrim, and then there's, what is it called? Like those shakes, powders, potions, and all that stuff. Beachbody, isogenics, and all that good stuff. No matter how many times I tried them, it just never worked. Plexus, all of this stuff. So in 2000, and I want to say about 16, my weight started creeping up. No matter how many races I ran, no matter how much I dieted, my weight started creeping up because I was getting ready to go through perimenopause and menopause. I didn't know anything about it. I thought I was crazy. I wanted to kill everyone around me, literally. I wanted to kill everyone around me. But if someone would have told me that it was the food that I was consuming and my blood sugar and all that good stuff, maybe I would have listened, maybe not. And I do want to insert here that I had multiple addictions that I was dealing with, namely for about 4 years from like 1998 to 2002. I was a weekend binge drinker, very functional, but at that time I made the decision because of what I was role modeling for my daughter that the alcohol had to go. So I just kept choosing food over and over again. So fast forward to 2016, the weight is creeping up and I could no longer sustain the lifestyle. And in 2018, I had hit the ultimate rock bottom, meaning that, yes, I was going through menopause. Yes, I thought I was crazy. I was in my career at this point of 23 years for corrections, but I was trying to get the 30 years to retire. But God distinctively told me that if I tried to stick it out for 7 more years, I would be in a depression that was so deep, I would not be able to be restored to myself. So I listened and I left service in April of 2019. And this is the kicker. I cashed out my retirement so that I could live a few years without working and just focus on me. And I thought I could just transition into another career and all that good stuff. But the saddest thing is that food had such a dramatic, how do I say, dramatic healing process once I figured it out. So I took a lot of certification courses and just went down these rabbit holes. I learned about the ketogenic diet and ketones. I thought I could buy Prove-It ketones and still eat whatever I wanted. There again, I spent thousands of dollars on potions thinking that it would work. But a part of my addiction is I like to overlearn things. But the problem is I wasn't applying it. So December 2nd, 2018, I decided to try the ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting. Are we allowed to curse on this show? It was a shit show. In the beginning, it was a total shit show. I knew what I was doing intellectually, but the emotions came in, the food preferences came in. I tried to make foods, my favorite foods, in the ketogenic way. And I kept being triggered and I was being compulsive and it just was not working. So we can fast forward to January of 2020. I decided to go carnivore. And my weight stabilized. There was a lot of weight loss in the first year or so, year and a half, but then it stabilized. And then once I went carnivore, I dropped more weight. And by March of 2020, my weight was happy at 170 pounds. And I was able to sustain that. But this again, I would take days off or have cheat meals like on Easter, somebody's birthday, all the while doing OMAD and saying that I'm carnivore except for these specific holidays and occasions. And through one of my courses and being tested, I was still in denial that I was a sugar addict, a food addict, just the whole nine. You just throw it in. And so in August of 2020, it was my last organized binge. And I finally got it, Dave. That there's some foods I could never, ever touch without spiraling out of control and taking 2 or 3 weeks to get it back together. So I want to say that I remained hardcore carnivore from August 2020, from that incident forward to December 31st, 2020. Then I got an idea, well, let's see if we can start introducing foods back in. in 2021, and it was a shit show again, because by now had cleaned out my system, and I was very sensitive to things, and I was in tune with my body. But there again, the addictive part of my brain started peeping its head, and I started experiencing depression again. There was just symptoms that were there that I could not ignore. I didn't want to spend the rest of my life having to weigh it out. Am I going to have a good day, or am I going to have a fudged up day because of what I consumed the day before? So about June of 2021, I just said, girlfriend, meat-based is all you can do. And I've been hardcore carnivore ever since. Now, I do drink black coffee every day, and I do have pork rinds every now and again, but I'm meat-based and I'm happy about it. And I share it with whoever wants to listen. So there you have it.
Wow. Wow. What a story. So just to pick up on the last thing you talked about first is you're eating the pork rinds, the meat. Are you eating eggs?
Oh my goodness, how could I ever forget that? So I do ground beef is my baseline, ground beef, patties, the hamburger patties. I eat 6 to 8 eggs a day, shamelessly. Sometimes I might do 12, depending on how hungry I am. And so I'm a beef girl in that capacity. And every now and again, I'll do ribeyes if they're on sale. And I do chuck roast. Yeah. And I add seasonings. So, yeah.
And so this has been since you've been hardcore with this since June 2021.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And so that's in more than 2 years. I mean, you're kind of keeping the weight stable around 170. Is that where you're at now?
My body is happy at 175, 180, and I refuse to fight with it. So 170, I feel as though I'm in my prime. Everything is working well, but I have to work a little bit harder. I have to be more focused on it. Whereas the 175, 180, it's all good. I don't even have to think about it.
Mm. And how has everything else gone? Like you mentioned depression and things like that.
So the depression has basically evaporated. I hate to say it like that. It's evaporated. I am more in tune when I'm hitting a low, and I can take a day off from work or just do a timeout and try to sleep a little bit more. But it rarely shows its head, whereas previously it was there on a daily, consistent basis. But now I'm good to go. And I've never been medicated or formally diagnosed, but I know myself well enough from childhood experiences forward that it is depression.
Okay. And so you mentioned taking a day off work. So what work are you doing now? Because you told me you left in 2019, right?
Yeah, I left corrections, and I didn't return to a formal workspace until last fall of 2022. So I work as a job coach for the local school district, which this is probably my second and last year. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So working for the school district.
Yes.
That must be pretty rewarding, no?
Well, the students or the population that I work with are 18 to 21-year-olds, and they have special needs. So in that sense, it's very rewarding. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit,
Okay.
but how are your eating patterns? So you're still OMAD or?
I'm still OMAD. What I found out very early, Dave, was I started with the intermittent fasting and saying, okay, 12 hours a day you're going to eat, 12 hours a day you're not, just very generous. And I found out very quickly, like within a few weeks, that I was still going through the mental energy and the pain of what am I going to eat next? What am I going to eat next? So by February, I had just transitioned completely into OMAD. just have it all in one sitting, be done with it, clean the kitchen, and it's worked out for me ever since. Yeah.
There's something to be said for that. Just get it out of the way. Don't have to think about it anymore, and I'm satiated.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So it's working for me.
Oh, nice. And how have people around you reacted? I mean, people must have noticed this if you've been doing this for over 2 years.
Yeah, so it all started back in like almost 5 years ago, right? So I was announcing it to the world because I wanted people to help me to be responsible for me, right? So I was announcing it to all of my groups and yada, yada, yada. But somewhere along the line, they weren't helping me. They weren't helping me because they thought it was bad for me, right? But once I started keeping my mouth closed and doing the internal work and letting it show up on the outside, things got better. And the population that I'm working with now, they understand that Miss Coates doesn't eat until 3 o'clock when she's home and settled. So I've taught them that. My coworkers, they tend to frown and not understand, but they're the ones that are coming in with sugary drinks, having headaches, and are on medication. And I'm like, nope, you've never seen me eat. You've seen me sip Starbucks black coffee, but this is who I am. So there's questions sometimes. And I think they come from a place more now of curiosity than judgment. So yeah.
Nice. And how about you? You talked about your daughter before. Your daughter is around 35, 36 now?
She's 36, yes. And I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, and like, how has she been with this way of eating? Does she say, "Mom, this is crazy," or is she in this with you? Or
well, ironically, she was the one who introduced me to the ketones, right? The exogenous ketones, and I was like, I got to support my daughter because she's a distributor, yada yada yada. But she's like on the bandwagon, off the bandwagon, and she's raising my grandchildren that are 7, 2 fraternal granddaughters. She's on and off, but I let her do her thing, right? I can only give her advice from my experience, but she's more like the ketogenic into the carnivore on the days that she feels like it.
nice. I mean, at least at least she's got that basis, so she always knows she can go to this is what I can do if I'm feeling like I need to get healthier or lose weight or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's I have to say that it's kind of nice in a way that I've gone through the experience that I've gone through and trying to help her and other younger people. But like me, they might have to go through the experience themselves, the mental fatigue or whatever is going on for them before they finally get it. But with my granddaughters, they're over here like 2 or 3 days a week, and they're 7. Dave, they know that there's certain things that I'm Bea to them. Bea will never feed them. So the avocados, bacon, eggs, all that stuff, and veggies like cucumbers, tomatoes. Yes, we can have those at Bea's house. And they'll tell you, but we can't have that at Bea's house. She doesn't allow us to eat candy. I can't do it because she'll yell at me, which I really will. So I can't control what goes on outside of my home, but I don't offer those things to them in my home. Yeah.
Nice.
So
And it's good they've got that clear understanding, like, oh, okay, well, I still want to go, I still want to visit, but I know I won't be eating those things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's some controls, but I'm just hoping to impart a little bit earlier on them than it was for me. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you had anyone talking to you about it that's gone, I'm going to give this a try, and they've stuck to it?
Not necessarily stuck to it. It's more like a week here, a week there. And I haven't convinced anybody to do 30 days. And even if I said, well, I will go arm in arm with you, I'll even give up my eggs, which is like a pacifier for me. It's because it's a filler. So if I say I'm going to give up my eggs, that means I'm going to do this with you, and it's challenging for me. But nobody has ever gone the distance of 30 days. They've dibbled and dabbled, but the seed is planted, and that's all that matters.
Mm, mm. Yeah, that's right. The seed being planted is what matters because, as someone tries to get healthier throughout their life and they maybe don't have success with,
Yes.
whichever dieting approach or exercise approach they take, eventually they're going to come around to, well, I need to give this a try now.
Yes, yes. And
Mm,
you know what I love about the carnivore diet actually is it's so simple. You set it and forget it. It's just simple. Your life could not be more basic and enjoyable and satisfying. And can I share with you? I don't necessarily do the caloric intake thing, but intuitively in one sitting, I do about 3,000 or just over 3,000 calories in one sitting. And I'm 6 feet tall. And yes, I do exercise, not excessively, but I exercise. And people are like, "You eat that much?" And I go, "Yeah, I eat that much." When it was the other food paradigms, I'd have to eat twice that amount to be as full and as satisfied as I am now, right? But this is the easiest way to live, you know, simple and satisfying.
yeah. So that just brings up another question that I wanted to get into is what's the difference between your concentration between the before times and now?
Well, I was constantly filled with thoughts. When am I going to have another candy bar? When am I going to have another cup of coffee? When? And actually, when I was working, Dave, I would carry literally suitcases full of food from home to work for breakfast, lunch, and if we got mandatory, I'd have to have enough for the second shift. Water, ice blocks. It's just crazy. So I was constantly thinking about food. And I would treat myself all the time. Like every Thursday night, I would treat myself after my family went to bed, go to the Burger King across the way. And my body knew every Thursday because it was my weekend. It's time for the alcohol. It's time for the burgers. It's time for this. And I just hate to think of how much time I actually spent in the kitchen spinning, doing meal prep for 3, 4, 5 days, only to eat it all in a day and a half. Right? So I no longer have that judge over my head. Yeah.
So I guess in that regard, and I mean that's great, and in that regard, you've probably reclaimed a lot of time.
Yes.
Um, how have you taken a lot of that time specifically allocated it to something else in your life, or is it just kind of spread out along a number of new things?
It's spread out along the way. I'm happy to say that. Like I have a home gym, so I do like 15 minutes on the treadmill here, go to the gym there, walk the dog, so it's spread a little bit more evenly. And I'm just not as compulsive, Dave. Like if something was left on the counter, my husband leave something on the counter, I would just fly off the handle in a rage, which is just unrealistic, right? So I spend my time cleaning, doing other things, visiting with friends, and reading whatever lights me up for the moment. Yeah.
Speaking of your husband, is he doing the same thing as you?
We are polar opposites, complete opposites. So for the last 25 years, we've been cooking separately. We've been shopping separately because I've always been on this quest for better health. And I do have him down to one meal a day, and he has a lot of health issues. And there was a period of time where he had surgery. He couldn't go up and down the stairs. So I was forced to cook for him the way that I eat. And he dropped a lot of weight. But as soon as he was able to be independent and do his thing, he reverted back to what he was doing. And now there's a surplus available. But the only thing that I can say, Dave, with that is I still love him. He's still my partner in crime, even though we live completely different health lives. I just don't want that to be my story, and I'm only in control of my story. And if by example, he chooses to follow my lead, that's great. But if he doesn't, that's okay too. I'm still going to live a good life.
Yeah. And again, the seed's planted whenever he's
Yeah.
ready, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Imagine you had to give a talk,
Hmm.
and it was on something to do with your diet or
Sure.
carnivore specifically. What's your elevator pitch to start off that talk about why everyone should be at least open to the idea of carnivore?
Okay. So, open to the idea of carnivore. You can do easy things now and get very easy results that will never last. And you will have the drama that you still have, right? Because there's nothing quick and easy. Or you can do things that are hard. You can learn, slow it down, and find out what works for you without all the noise and the food noise. And how do you say? The advertisers and Sally Sue down the street knocking on your door. If you just go at a slow, controlled pace, eating foods that are good for you, that taste great, that don't have all the noise, you will get to where you're going a lot quicker without taking the backdoor entry, right? Just go nice, methodically, and slow. Yeah. I wasted like 50 years, 45 years on diet drama when I didn't have to, but I didn't know. But so now that you know, let's try this road first. Yeah.
Mm. That's a really good way of getting the message across. Just talk about,
Uh,
do you really want to waste that much time?
Money,
And
effort.
money, effort, drama,
Yeah.
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 It's hard spending when you spend so many years of your life trying to just get to, I just want to be at peace,
Yes.
with how I feel about myself.
And that leads to there's so many things that people do really well, Dave. They are really well in school. They do really well with relationships. They do really well with their employment. All these areas that people are really good at for whatever reason, they hone in and they're rock stars. But when it comes to their diet or their protocol, whatever they want to say, it's all jacked up. It's all jacked up. I can do 10 things super well, but this one area of my life is controlling me and I can't get it together, right? So they say that carnivore is very restrictive. Being on intermittent fasting is very restrictive. And I go, oh, Nelly, no, 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 no. It's the most freedom I have ever experienced because I know when I choose to eat, I know what I choose to eat, and I know that if I cross the line and go over to packaged foods or foods that do me in, I will lose a lot of sleep, energy, money, and effort to come back to where I already am. And I have to say that I had never experienced vertigo before, Dave, ever in my life experienced vertigo. But when I was doing the trial and error with the reintroducing foods and whatnot, I had a few Quest bars in one sitting, like 4 Quest bars, because there's 4 to a box. And I was like, well, let's just go ahead and get this over with. It did not go well for me. It didn't go well for me. I had vertigo. It was set on right away. Wasn't able to walk. I wasn't able to go to my running group the next day. And it took about a good 24 hours before I was able to drive. And I probably shouldn't have been driving, but I wanted to go to Costco. So I took the streets to Costco so I could pull over if I needed to. But the lingering effects from that vertigo lasted for like weeks, right? So once I understood that, but now if I eat something that doesn't work for me, and the slightest hint of wooziness or a headache, I'm done. It's off my palate, right? So just be easy with it. And, it's simple. It's simple.
Yeah. And just to touch on the point you made about people saying carnivore's restrictive.
Mhm.
It's when people say that to me, I'm like, you don't understand what restriction is. You're in prison, mate. You don't understand it, but you are in chains with the food that you're addicted to.
Yes, yes, and they can't see it like the forest. You can't see through the trees, so to speak. But just give it the 7 days, the 21 days, the 30 days, or like in Alcoholics Anonymous, you just take it one day at a time, just for today. Tomorrow, maybe you can go back to the way you were eating, but just for today, right? So that's the way I view it too.
Yeah.
So just one day.
Yeah, I found that that was the best thing that worked for me, or that was the thing that did work for me up front, was just got to get to bed without cheating. I've just got to get to bed. No drinking, no bad food until I get to bed.
Yeah.
And you'd feel kind of jittery still as you're going to bed, but it's like, okay, I'm going to just get to bed. I'll worry about what's going to happen tomorrow. And
Right.
then when you wake up the next day, you feel so much better because you've got that feeling of achievement. It's like, yeah, I did it. That was 24 hours, you know?
Right on. Right
Yeah.
on. And the thing about that is too, is like if you get one day under your belt, whether it's a drug of choice, food of choice, whatever it is, if you get one day under your belt and then you start getting 2 and 3, and then you relapse for 1 or 2 days, it's okay because it's a part of the process. We can't be too beating up on ourselves, right? And then you'll get to 5 days, then you'll get to 7 days, then you'll get to 10 days. And then you might slide back and sample something that doesn't agree with you. It's okay. It doesn't mean you're starting all over. You're learning. You're learning. Yeah.
You know, it's great to talk this through with someone who's also on the diet because, you know, it just makes you all that much more positive about it again. It's just a good reminder.
Right.
So, like, where does this go for you from here? Are you a convert for life now? There's no going back?
Yeah. Carnivore Girl for Life. I don't know if you can see my sweatshirt, but it
Ah,
says
okay,
Carnivore
okay.
Girl for Life. So I'm down for the cause, Dave. I'm down for it. Yeah. And actually, in 2020, that was my first holiday season where I said, nope, I'm not doing prepackaged. I'm not doing baked goods. I'm not taking a day off. And it was hard. The struggle was real. It was like I was going through withdrawal again, right? And then the next year came around and it got better and better and better. So I think this is going to be my third season of not having like the stuffing, the cornbread, and all the other stuff that folks have. I'm good. I'm sane. I'm not overeating. It's all good.
Awesome. And so, Rose, do you have social media, like a YouTube channel or Instagram where people can reach out to you?
Okay, Dave, I have to say, because of you, I am taking a step forward in faith and doing what I believe I've since forever and a day. So because of you and because of my shirt, I'm coming up as Carnivore Girl for Life on YouTube. There's nothing there yet because I wanted to do this interview first. And then on Instagram, you can find me under Rose AJ or Carnivore Girl for Life. So I'd like to share something with you. So right now, I've done millions of certifications, and right now I am in Become a Health. So it's the Health Coach Institute. So this is my last program. I'm not going to do any more, no more obsessions. And I did the Primal Health Coach certification as well. And so what I'm doing now, I'm entering the part of the program where we have to take on 2 practice clients for 12 weeks and take them through, what we're supposed to be helping them to transform their lives. And so I actually want to work with someone who is trying to be a carnivore or is attempting this way of life, but that need life coaching, that need help with their sugar addiction or whatever they're going through, because I believe this is my calling to help others who were once like me. So if you know of anybody in your community that could use the support, and it would be free, it would be complimentary for 12 weeks, that could commit to 12 weeks of showing up for the call, the coaching call and whatnot. And the only thing that I would ask them in return is 1, to show up to the call. And 2, if they've got a pleasant experience, would they be willing to share it? And if they know somebody that could use the same help, to refer my way. So there's no financial strings or any undercover stuff. So I would treat them like an actual client, but in their agreement, it would show that they're not responsible for any payment or anything like that. So that's my biggest calling. And then I'm going to go into my intermittent fasting community and ask the same thing. If there's somebody knows that could actually use this, places, I really do want to help people to live the lifestyle that you and I are living.
So in that regard, if people want to contact you to apply for this, what's the best way of getting in contact?
The best and quickest way is through Carnivore Girl for Life on Instagram. They can DM me and we can start a chat from there. That would be the quickest, simplest way.
Awesome. So, Rose, thanks so much for joining me today and sharing your journey. I really appreciate it.
And I appreciate you, Dave. Keep up the good work that you're doing. And I hope to invite you onto my channel in the months coming to do an interview with you.